Well, I like them all varieties. I select the very good ones, so every kind of wine is very good. So.
Well, I mean, but I mean, some of your varieties, you know, are more outdoor varieties. So then, right?
For more production for every square meter, I will say use the KC36. That one is have giant buds or for every square meter. And you put 19 on a square meter on hydro. It will give you a lot of harvest. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we are biological growers, so we only grow on soil. And the normal procedure we follow is that we do about 40 plants on a square meter. And well, which varieties would I suggest to have an optimum result? One of them will be Green Spirit, which is a heavy yielder. Another one is a new variety from last year, which is Euphoria, which is very high in yield. And this year we come with the two varieties, Original Blueberry and Original Flow. Original Blueberry being 100% indica and Flow almost 100% sativa. As normal sativas give a lot less resulting harvest yield than indicas, and this is with the Flow the same thing, of course. It's about let me guess, 3/4 of the harvest of the indica. Best results per square meter are about 600-700 grams. Thank you.
It has enabled me to visit and consult with these gardens to some extent, and that's been has allowed me to see a lot of different methods being used. And one of the questions that I had was, each of you have been growing for at least 10 to 15 years or longer, or been around it. Like Alan's been around it from the time he was a toddler. Nice way to grow up.
They said I fell in a bowl, you know. It's like, young.
So, from all your experience, what I'd like to find out is what method are you using to cultivate now? In order to, to do seed breeding, you have to have your gardening down. It just has to be regular. It has to be perfect. It has to work every time, because if you lose a crop, sometimes you can lose your genetics, or come close to losing it, or restart your genetics. It can be a terrible disaster, more than just losing a crop. So after all your years of experience, what method of cultivation are you using now? And you can be a little detailed about the fertilizer type that you use, or a little, or formula if it's not secret, or any tips that you have. How far apart you space plants in general, what hydroponic or biological method you're using, and anything that you think varies from what people typically do. Okay, Hank? Near the mic.
The first part of your question was?
What methods of cultivation are you using now?
Yeah, well, the method of cultivation we are using is soil, yeah?
Yes.
And, well, we use only organic fertilizers for it, which we get from certain places. And, well, that's all about the growing itself.
So do you mix the fertilizer into the soil?
We mix our own fertilizers.
So do you
in our own soil?
Do you also feed the plants through the water during cultivation?
Yes. We have a dripping system. So
Yep.
we have the pots with the drippers.
But I mean, is there a nutrient in that?
There's not a nutrient. The nutrients are in.
All the nutrients is in the soil. So from the time that do you put when you put you put clones in?
Yeah, and then we use foliar spraying to feed them extra when necessary.
Now, do you ever have insect problems?
Not much.
No?
Just
And you're growing indoors? You're growing totally indoors?
We're growing not totally indoors, we grow outdoor, we grow indoor, and we grow in greenhouses.
So, how many, are you using HPS or metal halide or what kind of lamps?
What kind of lamps?
Yes.
High pressure sodium.
High pressure, and about how many watts per square foot? Or per meter?
Square foot, square meter. For seed production we use about 400 watts per square meter, a little more.
And do you use CO2?
No, not at all.
Anything else that you want to say about?
But CO2 is not necessary for seed production. We won't do anything. We produce seeds, we don't produce growth.
Anything else that you wanted to say about?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Greenhouses and outdoor and real open nature in the cold ground, and also inside on hydro. I use every system I can buy here in Holland. I use every square meter I can use for a lot of my contacts I have. So I put my address in more than 100 addresses already. It's going well. If you buy seeds, you can ask, is it biological one or is it hydro? So it's
for your hydro, what kind of fertilizers do you use?
well, it's very easy here in Holland for buy complete feeding for your plants. So you go to a wholesaler and you buy many liters and you buy water and you mix it and you have to special.
Do you have a particular formula that you like?
What?
Do you have a particular formula that you like?
Well, I use some special fabrics, you know. But I will, if you want, I can call the name. But
Yeah.
I use Cannabis feed for the hydro. It's very good, and it's a total feed, you know. And for outdoor in the cold soil, I use biological feedings like bat shit, worm shit, fishes, everything, you know. Very simple. Thank you very much.
How much?
For inside,
Yes.
400 watt on 1 square meter. If you use 600 watt on 1 square meter, you get bigger tops.
Yes.
So when you use 1000 or 1 square meter, you get more bigger tops. That's simple.
Okay. Thank you.
But a little bit different than the other companies. First of all, the watering system of our plants all goes by hand because, of course, we have a lot of varieties in the breeding programs, and we can't put them on the sprinkler installation because there's too many varieties. We also want to control that part really good. Then the light, in the lights we put 400 watts approximately on the 8 feet, 0.8 meters. That's where we put a 400 watt lamp on. In the breeding programs we have, most of them take at least like 2.5–3 years. That's one of the reasons our seed company only got at this moment 4 varieties on the market the last 2 years, because it just takes a long time to get a good new breed. We don't sell F1 hybrids, so we have to. It takes us much longer than other companies to bring a seed out that we like to put on the market. The techniques that we use, we need both indoor and outdoor rooms for to play with our breeding programs. We've got certain kind of techniques we use to breed, and you need to do those techniques. You need an indoor and an outdoor. We like to play with the light, and we like to play with the nutrients. All our nutrients that we make, all the nutrients that we use, we make ourselves. We have tried nutrients from companies in the previous years, but we find out that our own is the best. Also, you have the problem in the breeding programs and also in the normal flowering periods that by changing the nutrients you also can accomplish a lot of things. Of course, these are techniques that take a long time to learn and not really written much about in books, but by playing with light in breeding programs and by playing with nutrients you can pull off certain kind of things that were not possible in a normal situation. So this is also one of the reasons that we hand water those plants. And this is basically how we do it.
Yes. We have some people have visited the Cannabis Castle. That was until 3-4 years ago. That was the main place where also during the winter time all the indoor work was done. At that time we were still doing production in greenhouses. But now the last few years we are working in new facilities. At Rosenthal has recently also been visiting us there, and in there, because we are producing seeds, but also we've moved a large part of the breeding program over there because we have more rooms in overpressure, so we don't have wrong pollination, and we have a larger number of plants to select on. The system is basically very simple. There are tables where the drain goes off. It's a hydroponic system. We use a combination of rock wool with volcanic rock. The fertilizer is the Sensi Bloom fertilizer, and the system is basically reusing the fertilizer and the water also that is installed in there. It's quite a big operation. The important thing is what Ed said in the beginning, that all our plants are growing there. We cannot run the risk that everything would die or something weird like that. So that's all connected to the computer. Even somebody has a beeper. If there's any alarm in the system, the people are called up. The good thing is that on this basis I have very consistent. I have the same types of rooms, so I can really see what I'm doing. All the plants get the same fertilizer under the same circumstances. The way we give the food is of course by drippers. Drippers are opposite to ebb and flow system still the best system to use, especially in the setup that we have there. There's 400 watts lights in there for high pressure sodium, but then the plus type with a little bit more blue in there. In this occasion we use deep beamers. Normally normal growers don't have that kind of height, would use white beamers. Yeah, what can I say more? Ed, you have any details that I missed? Yeah, we have two systems, right? We use for production. We use cutting, so they go in plugs, rockwool plugs, and those go in cubes. Once they are rooted, they go into pots with lava stones, and there they flower off in. For the seeds, we do 4 seeds in one rockwool pot. That's the square blocks, and basically one of the 4 is gonna survive. So in one cell, because there are cells, we put about 2,000 seeds, and we end up with about 600 plants. And then later these plants are split up to 2 cells, so we end up with 2 cells with 300 plants. The nice thing is, we've been doing large groups of seeds the last few years in that place, and it's really fascinating because it gives you much more possibility to recognize certain characteristics from relatives that you're basing your hybrid on, and that also results in a better direction. You have if you're breeding, if you ask really what breeding is, your plants are a family. So, as simple as it is, you have to know. But not only kids. You know, if I'm going to use this plant, for example, I was giving the example is if Northern Lights 5 haze. Why the Northern Lights 5? Well, the haze we know because we want haze, but nobody wants to grow haze because pure haze people don't grow. Believe me, nobody wants to flower for 9 months. Yes, so we have to basically make from something which is a plant nobody wants to grow, but it's the best sativa type of plant that you can find around. You want to make a growable plant with an acceptable flowering time. Why the NL5? Because it does exactly that. It reduces the flowering time to about 10-11 weeks. The other positive side is that the normalized 5 adds to its potency, but is not very dominant. Not dominant in smell, nor dominant in taste. So, which results in this very fruity haze variety that the normalized 5 haze is. So you have so you know how the NL5 haze is going to react once I cross it with another plant. I know what I can expect from this father or this mother. So this is what I know with breeding. At a certain moment, you're working so many years with a strain, or with a certain mother or father, that you know, if I cross this with this is what I'm gonna get, at least can expect from this parent. So that's what breeding is all about, and that's why it's also not so easy to learn it or to get passed over from somebody else. But it is a process that takes many years, and that makes it also fun. This is, cuttings are really boring. Seeds are much more fun. It's much more fun to walk into a room where there's a couple of hundred seed plants, where you can really see what's going on. While in a room with all, 100% the same genetic type plant, which is all cuttings, and you can take one look and it's okay, click, next room. So you understand, the breeding part is much more exciting than the production part, of course, for any of the seed people. But this is also important.
Thank you. How I would go about developing a seed breeding program if I were to do one. And briefly, what I would say is using once you have the growing down, so that growing is not a problem, that there aren't nutrient problems, that the plants come out healthy, that there aren't bacteria, viruses infecting your garden, and so on. Once you get past that, then growers have techniques which Hank outlined, which is to induce male flowers in female plants. And this means that with taking plants that are normally female, you can temporarily induce hermaphroditism and actually produce male flowers in a female plant. So let's say you have a plant that you really like and you clone it out, then you can take some of the clones, for instance, spray gibberellic acid on the clone, get male flowers, and meanwhile, so you could cross a plant by itself. And since most of the plants that people are growing are hermaphrodites, and when you get the seeds, the seeds from those plants, often the plants themselves aren't, they're not uniform. And then when you cross the plants, then you find that they're not uniform again. So what you really want to do is inbreed a little. That you want to get the genes closer to each other. And when you do that, as Alan, I think, pointed out, that when you do that and you start standardizing, you lose a little bit of yield, but you gain a standard plant. And that is often very beneficial. I mean, farmers don't grow wheat that isn't uniform, or corn or tomatoes. They grow a uniform crop. So that uniformity is a very important thing. So I would make a vision of the plant that you want. Well, I want one that matures in 3 days, yields a pound. And I know those plants exist because the police always talk about them, those pound plants. I just haven't seen them. But that's the plant that I want. But okay, so that's my vision. So what comes close to it? Okay, well, 15 years ago they were talking about 90-day wonders. And these were these plants that you could take and you could put the cuttings into the grow room, and in only 90 days, those plants would mature. And now we're down to 70-day plants and so on. So one of the visions is a shorter day plant. And then, you know, growers have a lot of different techniques. So there is no one ideal plant. I was talking about, for instance, sea of green, and people here have different opinions about how tight plants should be grown, and also a lot of it depends on variety. Certainly some of the berry series of plants can't be grown too tightly. They just stretch too much to be done that way. And then there are other plants which you can put very close together. So a lot of it depends on variety, but the other thing is to make sure if you're growing a plant for a specific kind of system, that you grow it in that system. Don't grow it in another system, because then you're not testing your plant. And one of the problems in seed catalogs, and I want to say this is not only in marijuana seed catalogs, but I'm really, you wouldn't believe this, but I'm really into plants a lot. And anybody who has visited where I live has seen like tomato trials or orchids growing indoors and out, or whatever I happen to be into at the particular time. For a while I was into, I'll take the top 10. Why take the top 10? Which one do you take? You take the top one. Except if one particular plant might have one particular characteristic that you want to bring in. But otherwise, don't choose second best. No brass medals. Hey, give it to a friend to grow out and, you know, mature and stuff. Get it out of your garden. If you're not going to use it, don't waste the space. Shut the light down. Don't let it get confused. Don't, for medical reasons, I'm often in an altered state, which affects my memory. So if you get rid of the plant, then you don't have to remember which one you're supposed to get rid of. You know, don't delay. If it's supposed to go, take it out. Get rid of it. And so that that way you can keep the numbers down so you can do more selection. And for instance, I know one grower in the Bay Area that's doing selecting, and some of the plants, like in one time they were growing plants and they realized that these were not the plants they were looking for after the 4th week of cultivation, and they just pulled them out and planted something else, because there wasn't time enough to grow those out to see maybe they change. You know, hey, they weren't going to do it. Get something else in. If you know a plant, I mean, since you're only going to be growing females, and you're only growing females to crossing females to females, get the males out. If a plant has some hermaphroditism, get it out. Just keep it pure. Keep it pure and keep it simple. And don't do other experiments. That's the other thing. You have all these plants that you're testing, so you're tempted to do another experiment. Oh, I'll see if spray and grow works on this, on this half. Don't do it. Do one experiment. If you're just doing breeding, you keep your other experiments off to another area. Don't mess with those plants. So that's it. Okay, you see early on in flowering where there are both male and female flowers. Often those are the ones that mess up your thing. Oh man, did it seed it? This flower open. Get those out. That's the first kind. Then there's a second kind which shows up at maturity. When often in indicas, as the indica matures, you'll see male flowers popping out. Those, if you have a uniform garden and those pop out, those are often a signal of ripeness. And they're not going to do any harm. There's not going to be any seeds from them. So those are the two different kinds. Get both of those out though. there's no reason to have that second hermaphrodite. Often that also is an indication of some sort of stress during flowering. But still, if they have a tendency like that, don't use those. Only use the ones that don't have that tendency.
Thank you, will do.
Well, here's what I say about it. Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. And if you have to walk the lines every day or your plants are going to die, okay. That's what with aeroponics, just make sure you're walking the lines 2-3 times a day.
Red stems.
Red stems, potassium deficiency.
What do you mean?
Potassium, 0060.
Yeah!
So you'll also see small leaves with green, darker green in the center and a little lighter around the edges. More questions, come on. Yes.
They're going to be selling videos of this. I'm sure I'm going to forget everything.
It all depends. Here's what. You want to cut some leaves. You want to not necessarily take the leaves off, maybe even just trim them to let some of the light get into the flowering areas.
There's nothing wrong with it.
And also take off the lower leaves once your plants have some height, take off the lower leaves. They're not getting any light, because they're below the canopy and it allows air circulation. Okay.
A friend of mine I was growing the cone strain and moved into, got new carpet and that's a very touchy strain anyway. It just started to die for some reason. It just died. I don't know why.
Me neither.
And at Rosenthal, the people that make you grow.
Get them out.
Well, I just want to warn you about something. You haven't seen this in my column. Smoking marijuana is not, it's not addictive. Everybody knows that because they've gone to places where they couldn't smoke or something. But growing it is addictive. That's a warning that they should put on each pack of seeds. Growing marijuana may be addictive.
Let's get.
Hello there. Nice to see you guys. As it is with any bunch of hippies almost anywhere in the world, there's people here who haven't any idea who I might be or what I might be doing here. And there's other people here who probably know things about me that my mother doesn't know. So knowing it's like that, I'll start from here. I went to school on GI Bill in 1953, having come home from the Korean War as a Marine. And these were the Beatniks. The Beatniks were, in great measure, guys who came home from Korea and couldn't get work and stuff. And that's why the early stereotype of the Beatnik was the guy in the field jacket and the army boots and all that stuff going to college, because that's who the Beatniks were, going to GI Bill like that. So I went to college on GI Bill, and that was okay, but the thing about the Beatniks was they knew the world was screwed, and they complained about it. But that was really most of what they did. They didn't do much more than that, in a way. And it came a long time for the hippies, and the hippies knew the world was screwed, and they did things about it, and did giant things, and nobody told them that they could do it. They just took it on themselves to do it. That just gave me pity pats of the heart, man. I love that, man. And I wanted to be a hippie the way little boys want to be a cowboy. Oh, I want to be one of those, man. They're cool, And that attitude was widespread, and it didn't hurt in me that the hippie girls were saying, oh no, we're not going to screw those short-haired boys that go to war. We're going to screw those long-haired boys that protest the war. And the boys said, oh, can I protest the war? We had real Lysistrata happening back then. It was great. And I guess one of the important things that the Beatniks did do was they learned to smoke dope from the black people. And that was really worthwhile. That may be the most important thing they did, and establish that line of friendship and communication, When I was a boy, nobody smoked dope but black people and Mexicans. You couldn't find anybody who wasn't, who smoked dope who didn't come from those groups. The thing about grass right now is I think that grass is, at least in the United States and possibly in the world, the most authentic left that there is. The other lefts are all compromised, you know. They can't get the ecologists to come on solid because some of them are making money on something that might not be ecological. And people from ethnic groups, some of them are buying into being rich and stuff. So that system doesn't, kind of breaks down. But grass is a special thing. And this is something I've said before, but I wanted to say it because it kind of establishes something about who I think we are. The governments of the world, except for this very wise government of this country in which we are sitting now, which I really give thanks to Holland for hosting us and hosting this and having this good scent. Yes. Thanks to the Dutch, good sense. But in the United States, basically, and as I say, most of the rest of the world, the idea is that we are a bunch of people who are either criminal or crazy or irresponsible or misinformed or backslid from our religions or stupid or have been head-copped by some other bad people, and that is the moral responsibility of the establishment and the government to give us psychotherapy, lock us up, scare us, intimidate us, make us cut our hair, get a job, go straight, and all that kind of stuff. And this is a completely wrong attitude about what's going on, because this isn't at all who we are. Who we are is representatives of a great global subculture of hundreds of millions of people all over the world. And that if we could just suddenly, by magic, snap another couple of 300 hippies into this room from any country in the world, you know we wouldn't fight. You know we'd slap fives and hug and embrace and turn each other on and be glad to see each other and be interested in what countries we were from, and man, your culture makes pretty pipes, and you know, all of this stuff. And we would be loving friends, and we would be no problem with us getting together and being friends all over the world. Now, I used to say I didn't think that the hippies were supposed to be a takeover of the world culture. I thought that what we really were is a vitamin, and that no culture is healthy without that vitamin. You know, and that we need to make at least a good enough dose of that vitamin for the whole world to have some, because they all need some. And everywhere they catch it, it grows and does good, like Prague. You know, they caught that old hippie virus there, and look at them. You know? And that's what's going to, like, help ease the conflict, you know, with Russia trying to recover from their terrible financial troubles and stuff. There's already Russian hippies. We already know this. There's Russian hippies. My wife went touring in Russia and found old, beautiful wooden churches with pot growing in the front yard. You know? So what we're having here is the 420 Council. I have to plead that I don't know where 420 came from. I don't know anybody who reliably does. But for us here, what this context has come to be is that we come here together and we come in honor of the herb, and we know that one of the virtues of the herb is that while it makes you think good and original thoughts, it also makes you sensitive to maybe let someone else speak their good and original thoughts too.
Yeah.
You just hold that for a second? I'd love to. And that we speak, well, no, there's another one coming along just like a subway car. Catch the next one. That we're here to share not just our nominations. We want to do our nominations and we want to, you know, collect as many of them as we can, but also put things that people have to say from their heart, you know, because I learned a little prayer from an old friend named Steve Camacho who said, when one last prayer is all I've got, I want to say God bless pot. And I feel rescued not just by grass, because nothing is that complete in itself, but by the grass and the kind of people I met through grass that I met all over the world. I feel rescued, I feel like I have family, I feel buoyed up, and I know I have this kind of family anywhere I go in the world. No, someday I want to smoke some grass out of the King of Swaziland's family plot. Have you yet? Not yet, but I want to sometime. Although I have been blessed with the taste of High Times cover bud. So we're going to have, you know, we've been doing the registration over there, and we've been doing all this, intellectual understanding of the plant and how it works and stuff. And so we need a little bit of the Shakti at this time, I think.
crackle of a nearby branch with a big stick. Haunted you all by those deep drugs pounding, distant at first, then beating closer, closer, till they beat you very hard, beat you very hard. Night lights twinkle, fireflies fires are rolling, smoke, dancing shadows, mysteries, wild dance, ever wilder, haunted by the romance wild, faster, ever freer, burning in the bright fire. Climb within, impassioned gypsies, free your spirit, free your soul, free your terrible haunted heart. Can you feel it? The spirit is calling me.
Ancient patriarch of the Rastafari faith.
Yes.
We say herb is made for the service of man, and grass was made for the animals. For on the third day, when Yahweh Haile Selassie I the first created the world, he created herb.
Yes,
Herb. To heal the heart, the mind, and the soul of man.
Yes, child.
So if herb is a crime, then Jah Rastafari, the creator, is a criminal. And I say herb don't do no harm to no one.
Yes, sir.
So let the herb be free.
Yes, child.
Legalize herb universally.
Yes, sir. Is the build your mind on this direction.
King of kings is the King of kings. King of kings is he. Conquering Lion of Judah. Triumphantly, we all must sing. No, we all must sing. All must sing. I search and I search. Splendid book of mine. In the Revelation, look what I find. Hail Selassie is the chapel. All the world should know that all should know, all should know that man is the angel. And our God, the King of kings, is the King of kings. King of kings is he.
Yes, yes. There's one right there. Okay, you want to start us off with a nomination or
Raise your hand out
a
there.
little statement? Raise your hand so we can see who you are. Yeah.
Where are you?
Hi, man. Over here.
Step up here.
Here we go.
This year is for me something I did for the third time now, the Cannabis Cup. I'm enjoying it every year again and again. All these Americans running around like crazy, it's for the bud, man. I also work for a coffee shop, though, the Greenhouse. I think this year you should also check out our new shop at the Centrum. I think it's the most beautiful shop in Amsterdam at this moment.
Yeah.
And it's not prejudgment I have. So anyone can step up and do that thing, I say.
Yeah, hello, my name is Marcel Hendricks. I'm from Amsterdam. In 1990 I was a member of the jury of the Cannabis Cup, and that was quite some time ago. I was just passing by here today to hand out some flyers to the Milky Way when I saw this was happening. And like I said, I once was a member of the Cannabis Cup back in 1990, and I was wondering, basically, that's all I'm wondering about, if Steve Bloom is around here. Does anyone know Steve Bloom?
Yeah, he's
I'm sure,
here.
yeah.
Steve
is he
Bloom is
around?
here, yeah.
Is he
Here,
somewhere?
Find
So I want to shake his hand, and then maybe see him later or something. Steve, are you there?
Let me tell you how to find.
He's at the
Steve
Hotel
Bloom.
Amsterdam.
Find somebody that has one of the radios, because he has one. About grass for me is a lot of you guys are sort of young and you came along and there's this grass thing going on, but it didn't used to be like that, and it was so different that I felt so rescued from. Can you imagine growing up in a world where the big competition musically was between Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra? You know, I mean, the first time I ever heard rock and roll, I thought, at last. Why didn't anybody ever do this before? And that was the influence of reefer on the world, you know. That's why our music took over the world for decades. It was because it was the influence of not just grass, but rock and roll. I don't mean any disrespect to Papa Mendeley. It's just an old hippie thing to say grass. But I believe in the herb. You know, herb's fine for me too.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I might have misunderstood, but as a coffee shop presentation, this is one of my cannabis fairies.
Oh, how beautiful! Lovely.
I might have misunderstood, like when I stepped up for the first time, but is this a presentation for coffee shops? Then I would rather do so, because we got this year's winner for the Hydro Cup, the Super Silver Ace, for the Bio Cup, the White Shark, and for the Hashish, we got the King Hassan. So I want to spread some around if you would like so, but...
You know, when I was here last year, I was talking to a reporter who was, I thought I was a step ahead of him, and he was a step ahead of me as well. And so he said, "You came to Holland to smoke cannabis." He says, "No, I didn't come here to smoke cannabis. I smoke cannabis wherever I am, in whatever country it is in the world, wherever I am, every day, anyway." I came here for the open display of love and sanity and friendship and good intelligence. That's what I came here for, because I'm going to smoke anyhow. And that's what's really precious here, is that companionship. So anybody here who has anything in their heart like that, you know, if they want to share anything, is a good time. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, everybody.
Hi there. Excuse me.
I'm the Green Prisoners Release here in Amsterdam. I'm sure a lot of you remember us from last year. Prior to that. And, well, heck, the first green prisoner in the world is the plant itself. So, to begin with, Green Prisoners Release is going to start releasing a few. This is only symbolic. You know, we're not here to get everybody in the world loaded, but we want everybody to be smoking hemp when we talk. Alright. Last year at this time, when we were participating in the cups, and we had a great booth. We won this Cannabis Cup for the best booth overall. We also took a silver medal in the second place in the overall competition. Of course, we had a lot of things to crow about as we pat ourselves on the back. Unfortunately, we had 2 Americans in jail here in Amsterdam. Well, here in Holland, rather. And we were fighting their extradition. And of course, it was really easy to rally the troops behind us at that point, because everybody believed we could do something. And we did. Unfortunately, Les Moorings is still sitting in jail in America, but he's doing 1/3 of the sentence in which the DEA said that he would serve. And that was the combined effort of everybody that got behind what we did last year. Females attending the Cannabis Cups.
Of heart sickness and rage and grief. The mother of my youngest son is doing some federal guideline time in the federal penitentiary at Alderson at this time. And she's not doing as much as they tried to scare her with the 25 years they tried to put on her in the first place. But as a lot of that kind of stuff where they try to scare you goes, it turned out to be a year and a day. and she's going to get to see some halfway house work release time in about March. But having been in a penitentiary myself, with the walls in Nashville, I did a year up there, and to have someone who came to visit me when I was in be someone that I have to know come visit, you know, and to hear my oldest daughter talking to my youngest son and saying, yeah, I remember what it was like when Stephen went, and you know, you can talk to me about it. And isn't that a hell of a tradition to have in your family? You know, isn't that just a hell of a tradition? But I've never shrunk from it. You know, when Anime and I got married, we were married by the Shane sheriff who arrested me, and I wore my black and white striped prison coat to get married in. 4077 additional leave. Okay, just a moment here. I need a sidekick with a piece of paper. I have paper. Okay, anybody want to come up here and be my helper? Okay, I got paper. It was okay. All right. No, we're just going to keep track so as we collect more nominations. So one of them is Stonehenge. That was the one I just mentioned, and then after Stonehenge is White Widow. And just to say, don't get too far ahead of us. She's doing her best.
4077 additional leave.
What was the third one?
Shiva Skunk. Warlock.
Shiva Skunk and Yellow Skunk.
Why didn't you just check them off of this?
And Warlock.
Northern Lights 5, Hayes. 5 Hayes.
Okay. Well, if she just keep, okay, well, we can just keep this list then. If we can keep this, okay, good. Well, she has to find them anyway, and then.
Well, go by coffee shop,
Now, I had another thing that was wild this morning. What was it?
Breakfast.
Yeah. For breakfast, I had bubble gum. That was good too.
Kryptonite. Bluebird.
Yabo.
Bluebird.
Yumbo, is that right? Yumbo, that's real? Yumbo. Yes, Yumbo. Okay, Yumbo. That was a lovely wake up. This is the only time of year when it's okay to wake and bake. Yeah, the rest of
Wake and bake.
it's okay to wake and bake. Yes. Yellow cap. Okay, yellow cap from where? Gray area? Right, gotcha.
White Shark.
White Shark. I had some of that, it was good. Yes. See, I've been being serious about finding out about this stuff. I've been trying to checking it out.
Shimmer!
We have to stir you guys up with the Shockies again to get you rolling.
Cincy Skunk!
Cincy Skunk. Whose is that? What house? Greenhouse. Cincy Skunk, Greenhouse. So,